The deep space exploration vessel Horizon Dawn floated silently through the darkness of the Kuiper Belt. Commander Abigail Foster stood on the bridge gazing at the stars that surrounded her ship. She had been leading mapping missions for 3 years now. But the wonder of space never faded. Abigail watched as her crew worked at their stations. Susan, her second-in-command, approached with a data pad. "Something strange is showing up on our scans," Commander Susan said, pointing to the readings. "It appears to be an asteroid, but the energy signature is unlike anything in our database." Abigail leaned forward to examine the readings. "What do you make of it?" Susan shook her head. "I have no idea, but it defies all natural explanation." "Bring us closer," Abigail ordered. The crew adjusted the ship's course, moving toward the mysterious object that hung motionless against the backdrop of stars. As they approached, the object began to change. Its surface shifted, revealing metallic panels beneath what had appeared to be rock. The ship's systems flickered and alarms blared across the bridge. All systems experiencing interference, called out Linda from the engineering station. "Whatever that thing is, it's affecting our technology." Abigail gripped the edge of her command chair. "Everyone remain calm. Keep us at a safe distance, but continue scanning." The object continued its transformation, panels sliding apart to reveal an interior that glowed with a blue light. The asteroid was opening like a flower, revealing itself to be something constructed rather than natural. "It's artificial." Susan whispered, "It's a ship or a station of some kind." The alien vessel was unlike any human design. Its surface flowed like liquid metal while maintaining structure. Its curves and angles followed mathematical patterns that seemed to shift as they watched. "We need to report this to Earth Command," Abigail said. "But first, let's gather all the data. We can." For hours, the crew of the Horizon Dawn observed and recorded. The alien vessel made no aggressive moves but continued to activate systems dormant for what their scans suggested might be thousands of years. That night in her quarters, Abigail recorded her log entry. "We have discovered what appears to be an alien vessel of unknown origin. Its technology far exceeds our own. I believe this may be the most significant discovery in human history." 3 days later, the research vessel Science Seeker arrived carrying a specialized team led by Dr. Kimberly Reeves. Earth Command's top xenotechnologist Kimberly and Abigail stood in the observation room, watching the alien vessel through the viewport. "How long has it been active?" Kimberly asked. "Examining the data from the initial discovery." "Since we found it," Abigail replied. "It seems our presence triggered some kind of awakening." Protocol. Kimberly nodded. "And it hasn't made any aggressive moves." "None," Abigail confirmed. "It just sits there like it's waiting for something." The next morning, Kimberly led a team to examine the vessel up close. Their shuttle approached slowly, careful not to appear threatening. The alien vessel remained passive as they neared. "This is incredible," Kimberly said into her comm as she studied the vessel's exterior. "The metal appears to be some kind of programmable matter. It can reshape itself at the molecular level." As Kimberly's team conducted their examination, the vessel suddenly emitted a pulse of energy that washed over their shuttle. Their systems went offline for 3 seconds, then returned to normal. "Everyone okay?" Abigail called from the Horizon Dawn. "We're fine," Kimberly replied. "But I think it just scanned us." When Kimberly returned to the Horizon Dawn, she brought surprising news. "The vessel seems to be responding to our presence, not just our technology, but to us as biological entities." "What do you mean?" Abigail asked. Kimberly pulled up her scan results. "The vessel emits different energy patterns when humans are near, versus when only our probes approach. It's almost like it's studying us." Over the next week, more research teams arrived. The alien vessel became the most classified discovery in Earth's history, but rumors spread throughout the colonies. Something unprecedented had been found. 1 month after the discovery, Kimberly made a breakthrough. The vessel had created an opening, a doorway just large enough for a human to enter. "I think it's inviting us in," Kimberly told the assembled commanders. "That's too dangerous," Abigail argued. "We know nothing about its intentions," Kimberly smiled. "We won't know until we accept the invitation." Despite the risks, Earth Command authorized an expedition inside. Kimberly would lead with Abigail and Susan accompanying her. A team of scientists and security personnel would follow. The day of the expedition arrived. Abigail felt her heart pounding as she suited up. This moment would change human history forever. The team approached the opening that had formed in the vessel's side. As they neared the entrance, lights activated along what appeared to be a corridor. "It knows we're here," Kimberly whispered. The interior of the vessel defied human architecture. The walls seemed alive, shifting subtly as they walked. The corridor led them deeper inside until they reached a chamber at the center. The chamber was circular with a platform in the middle. Above the platform hovered what looked like a control interface, but without any recognizable controls. Kimberly approached the platform slowly. As she stepped onto it, the entire chamber lit up with holographic displays. Symbols and images flashed around them. Stars, planets, entire galaxies. "It's some kind of map," Susan said in awe. Then the images changed, showing scenes of destruction, planets breaking apart, stars going supernova, civilizations falling. "It's showing us something from its memory," Kimberly said. "It's telling us a story." Suddenly, the holographic display focused on a single device, a weapon of immense power. It showed the weapon being used, then hidden. The final image showed humans finding it. That's 'cause Abigail realized. It's been waiting for us. As the realization dawned, the vessel trembled. A new hologram appeared showing multiple fleets of ships heading toward Earth. A warning, Kimberly whispered, "It's warning us." The team rushed back to the horizon, dawn to report their findings. As they departed, the alien vessel began to move for the first time, activating propulsion systems dormant for millennia. "It's following us," Susan said as they watched from the shuttle. No, Abigail realized, looking at its trajectory. It's heading to Earth. By the time they returned to the horizon dawn, the alien vessel had already accelerated beyond their capacity to follow. Abigail sent an emergency transmission to Earth Command. The message was simple and urgent. The vessel is not just a ship, it's a weapon, and it's coming to Earth. The ancient vessel arrived at Earth faster than any human ship could travel. It positioned itself in orbit above the North Pole and remained silent. Earth governments scrambled to respond. Military vessels surrounded it, but kept their distance. 3 months passed. The vessel made no aggressive moves. It simply orbited, watching. On the research station, Prometheus II orbiting Neptune, Dr. Kimberly Reeves worked tirelessly to understand the data collected from the vessel. Admiral Carol Porter visited the station for her weekly briefing. The tall, stern woman strode onto the observation deck where Kimberly waited. "Tell me something good." "Doctor," the Admiral said. Kimberly gestured to the holographic display. "The technology is like nothing we've ever seen. It seems to respond to neural patterns but rejects most of our attempts at interface. We can observe but not control." The Admiral frowned. "How dangerous is it?" Kimberly hesitated. "Based on the images it showed us, potentially catastrophic. But it hasn't shown any aggression." As they spoke, alarms blared throughout the station. "What's happening?" the Admiral demanded. Multiple vessels just appeared at the edge of the solar system. The tactical officer reported. They came out of nowhere. No warp signatures, no jump points. The view screen showed sleek, crystalline ships moving with impossible grace. They were beautiful and terrifying. 23 ships, the officer continued. They appeared to be on an intercept course with Earth. Kimberly felt her blood run cold. They must be here for the vessel. The alien fleet moved through the solar system, ignoring human attempts at communication. They positioned themselves around Earth, keeping their distance from the ancient vessel. Then a transmission came through. The being on screen was humanoid but composed of shifting light and shadow. Its voice resonated with multiple tones, speaking perfect English. "I am Commander Vela of the Concordance. We have come for the weapon. You will surrender it immediately, Admiral," Porter responded. "We barely understand what we found. We need time." The alien commander tilted its head. "The weapon destroyed 3 civilizations before being contained. It cannot remain in such primitive hands. You have 3 Earth days, then we will take action." The transmission ended. Panic spread through Earth. Government's military forces mobilized, but everyone knew their technology was no match for the alien fleet. Kimberly returned to her research with renewed urgency. The answer had to be in the data. 2 days later, she made a breakthrough. The weapon responds differently to human neural patterns, she explained to Admiral Porter over emergency comms. Something about human consciousness creates a compatibility the weapon's creators never anticipated. How does that help us? The Admiral asked. It means we might be able to control it. Kimberly said, we need volunteers to attempt neural interface. 12 hours before the deadline, Kimberly arrived on Earth with her equipment. A facility had been prepared beneath the Rocky Mountains where 7 volunteers waited. These women had the strongest neural compatibility based on Kimberly's tests. Abigail and Susan from the original Discovery team were there, along with 5 others selected from military and scientific communities. Time is short, Kimberly explained. We need to establish control before the Concordance returns. The neural interface equipment was connected to the volunteers. Each woman sat in a reclined chair with a helmet of sensors covering her head. Kimberly monitored their brain patterns from a central console. Focus on the image of the vessel, she instructed. Try to feel a connection. Not just think about it. Hours passed without success. The deadline approached. Tension filled the room. Then Abigail gasped. I feel something. It's like a presence touching my mind. The other women began to report similar sensations. The monitoring equipment showed synchronized brainwaves growing stronger. Above Earth, the ancient vessel began to move. Lights activated across its surface. Its orbit shifted, bringing it directly between Earth and the approaching Concordance fleet. In the facility, monitors showed the vessel responding to the neural connection. It's working. Kimberly shouted, keep focusing. The Concordance fleet arrived exactly as promised. Their ships formed a battle formation. 23 weapons powered up, targeting Earth. The alien commander transmitted again. Surrender the weapon now, or we will fire. Admiral Porter stood firm on the bridge of her flagship. We cannot comply. The alien ships fired energy beams streaked toward Earth. But they never hit. The ancient vessel moved into position, creating a protective field around the planet. The Concordance weapons could not penetrate it. In the facility, the 7 women worked in perfect harmony. Their minds linked with the vessel. Each felt its power, its purpose. It's not just a weapon, Susan realized through the neural link. It's a protector. It was created to defend against something worse. The Concordance ships continued firing to no effect. Then the ancient vessel responded. It released pulses of energy that disabled the alien weapon systems without destroying the ships. The alien commander transmitted again, furious. How are you controlling it? Human minds are not capable. Admiral Porter smiled. Perhaps you don't know humans as well as you thought. The Concordance ships retreated, pulling back to regroup in the facility. The neural link weakened. The 7 women collapsed, exhausted but triumphant. We did it, Abigail whispered. We controlled it. Kimberly checked their vital signs. The neural load is too much for one session, she warned. We need more trained operators to take shifts. Admiral Porter called an emergency meeting. With world leaders, the Concordance had retreated, but everyone knew they would return with reinforcements. Earth needed to prepare. We need to understand this weapon, Kimberly urged. We need to learn everything about it before they come back. Research. Teams worked around the clock studying the vessel, which now responded to human commands. The 7 women recovered slowly, their minds forever changed by contact with alien technology. 2 weeks later, sensors detected more ships approaching, but these were different from the Concordance vessels. These were massive organic structures that seemed alive. A new transmission came through. The being on screen was partly organic, partly mechanical. Its voice resonated with a harmonic quality. We are the Ascendancy. We have come to warn you. The Concordance has lied to you, Admiral Porter responded skeptically. What do you mean? The Ascendancy representative continued. The weapon you possess was not used to destroy civilizations. The Concordance used it against their enemies. They fear you will discover its true purpose and use it against them. Trust nothing. They say, the alien warned. They will return with a larger fleet. They will destroy your world, rather than let you control the weapon. The transmission ended, leaving Earth leadership confused. Who was telling the truth? The Concordance or the Ascendancy Kimberly met with the 7 neural operators now recovered enough to attempt another connection. "We need answers," she said. "And the vessel itself might provide them." The women connected again. This time the neural interface was stronger, more stable. Their minds melded with the ancient technology. Images flowed through their consciousness. The history of the vessel, its creators, its purpose. "It's not primarily a weapon," Abigail reported as technicians recorded their findings. "It's a vast archive of knowledge from dozens of extinct civilizations, and it's a transportation network that spans the galaxy through artificial wormholes. Its creators built it to preserve life." Maya, one of the operators, added, "Not end it." Before they could learn more, the connection was interrupted by an alert. The Concordance had returned with a fleet 3 times larger than before, and the Ascendancy had positioned their ships. On the other side of Earth, the 2 alien forces faced each other with humanity caught in the middle. Then a 3rd fleet appeared. These ships were unlike either of the others. They were simple, elegant in design with technology that seemed both advanced and familiar. They transmitted a single message: "We are the vanguard. We are the descendants of those who created what you now possess. We have come to reclaim our legacy." Earth now faced 3 alien factions, each claiming rightful ownership of the vessel. Earth forces remained on high alert. The 7 women prepared to connect again, knowing that humanity's fate rested on their ability to control the ancient technology. The final battle for the most powerful artifact in the galaxy was about to begin, and humanity stood at its center. The ancient vessel, now called Artemis by Earth Command, hovered above the planet, silent and watchful. 3 alien fleets surrounded Earth, each demanding the weapon for themselves. Inside the Rocky Mountain facility, the 7 women who could connect with Artemis gathered again. They called themselves the Mediators, now a name that had come to them through the neural link. Abigail looked at her fellow mediators. Maya Delgado, a lunar miner with no military experience. Olivia Wright, a brilliant university student. Zoe Campbell, a veteran pilot. Twins Diana and Lily Anderson from the Mars colony. And Grace Phillips, a doctor from Brazil. They were an unlikely group united only by their unique neural patterns. Dr. Kimberly Reeves monitored their vital signs as they prepared for another neural connection. "This will be dangerous," she warned. "The last session nearly killed you all." "We have no choice," Abigail replied. "Earth needs answers." The women connected to the interface equipment. The neural link established. Faster this time. Their minds joined, flowing into Artemis consciousness. They found themselves in a virtual space, a representation of Artemis' interior. The walls flowed with symbols and images from a dozen extinct civilizations. "We need to understand what you are." Maya thought, directing her question to the vessel itself. Images appeared around them. The history of Artemis' creation, the civilization that built it, a species of philosophers and scientists who had reached a technological golden age. They called themselves the architects, Olivia narrated as the images flowed. They built Artemis as the culmination of their knowledge. The images changed, showing a dark force approaching the architects' homeworld, a consuming void that destroyed everything it touched. They built Artemis as a lifeboat. Grace realized a way to preserve their knowledge and power, but there was more. Artemis wasn't just a vessel of preservation, but of balance. It was designed to maintain equilibrium in the galaxy, preventing any one species from gaining too much power. "The Concordance claims you destroyed civilizations." Zoe thought. New images appeared. The Concordance, a young species discovering Artemis, attempting to use its power, destroying themselves in the process. "They tried to control me without understanding." Artemis responded in concepts rather than words. They lacked balance. They nearly tore the fabric of reality. The mediators saw the truth. The Concordance had not been victims. They had been aggressors attempting to use Artemis as a weapon of conquest. "What about the Ascendancy?" Diana asked. Images of the partly organic, partly mechanical beings appeared. They evolved naturally, blending with their technology. Artemis had not interfered with them. They sought Artemis for protection, fearing the Concordance would use it against them, and the vanguard. Lily questioned. The final set of images showed humans or beings very similar to humans. These were indeed descendants of the architects, but changed evolved. They had been searching for Artemis for generations, believing it their birthright. None of them understand my true purpose. Artemis conveyed, only humans have the neural patterns compatible with my systems. Only humans can maintain the balance. The connection began to weaken. The strain on the mediators was growing. One last question. Abigail thought, what is the consuming void that the architects feared? Darkness flowed through their minds. A terrible emptiness that devoured light matter, consciousness itself. The void, as the architects called it, was entropy, given form, the ultimate end of all things. Artemis had been built to delay that end, to preserve life against the inevitable. The connection broke. The 7 women gasped as their minds returned to their bodies. We know the truth now. Abigail said, her voice weak. Each faction wants Artemis for their own purposes. None of them know its true capabilities. Kimberly helped them to their feet. What do? We negotiate. Abigail replied, we are the mediators. After all, Admiral Porter listened as the mediators explained what they'd learned. She frowned when she spoke. Her voice was heavy with responsibility. So none of these aliens are telling us the full truth. Not exactly, Grace clarified. The ascendancy is mostly honest. They do fear the concordance. The Vanguard truly are descendants of the creators, but none of them understand Artemis like we do. The Admiral nodded. Then we negotiate from a position of strength. The mediators prepared to address the 3 alien factions. Each faction had sent representatives to a neutral space station positioned between their fleets. Abigail stood before the aliens. The concordance representative glowed with barely contained energy. The ascendancy representative was eerily still, its organic components pulsing gently. The Vanguard representative looked almost human, but with eyes too large and skin too perfect. We have communed with Artemis, Abigail announced. We know its history and purpose. We know what each of you desires. The concordance representative stepped forward. Artemis is a weapon of immense power. It must be controlled by those who understand. War Abigail shook her head. Artemis is not primarily a weapon. It is a preserver of knowledge, a maintainer of balance. It chose humanity because our minds are compatible with its systems. The Vanguard representative spoke, its voice melodic. Artemis is our birthright. Our ancestors created it. We have the strongest claim. That was millennia ago. Abigail countered, your people have changed, evolved. You are no longer the same species that created Artemis. Your neural patterns have altered. The ascendancy representative remained silent, observing. None of you can control. Artemis, Abigail continued. Only humanity has that capability. We propose an alliance, a sharing of knowledge and resources with Artemis as the foundation. The aliens began to argue, each demanding exclusive access to Artemis. The negotiations deteriorated as the arguments intensified. Alarms blared. Throughout the station, Admiral Porter rushed in. Sensors have detected something massive approaching from beyond the solar system. The view screen showed it, a darkness moving against the stars, a void that consumed everything in its path. The void, Abigail whispered. It's real. The concordance representative trembled with fear. The ancient enemy returns. We must flee. The ascendancy representative turned to Abigail. This is why we sought Artemis. It is the only defense against the void. The Vanguard representative nodded. Our ancestors built Artemis to fight this threat. It is why we have searched for it for generations. The 3 alien factions looked to the humans. They, who had been enemies moments before, now faced a common threat. This is why Artemis chose humanity. Abigail realized we are the balance between these factions, the mediators. She turned to the aliens. We will fight together or die alone. Those are our only options. Reluctantly, the alien representatives agreed to a temporary alliance, concordance, Warriors, ascendancy technicians, and vanguard scientists would work with humans to prepare for the coming battle. The mediators returned to Earth to prepare. They would need to connect with Artemis again, this time to activate its full potential as both weapon and shield in the Rocky Mountain facility. The 7 women gathered one more time. They knew the risks. The neural load might kill them, but Earth had no other defense. They connected their minds, flowing into Artemis. With the knowledge they now possessed, they navigated its systems more confidently, activating dormant protocols, unlocking hidden powers. Through Artemis sensors, they saw the void approaching, a conscious darkness that consumed everything, stars, planets, life itself. It had destroyed the architect's homeworld countless millennia ago. Now it had found its way to Earth. The Concordance, Ascendancy, and Vanguard fleets moved into defensive positions. Their weapons seemed insignificant against the approaching darkness. Through Artemis, the mediators reached out to the Allied fleets, establishing communication links, coordinating the defense. The void reached the edge of the solar system. It consumed Pluto in seconds. The tiny planetoid simply ceased to exist. Artemis began to move, positioning itself between Earth and the approaching threat. The ancient vessel glowed with power. Energy cascaded across its surface. The mediators felt Artemis' true power awakening. It had been built for this moment, to stand against entropy itself, to preserve life. The void approached faster now. It would reach Earth within hours. The final battle for humanity had begun. The void consumed Neptune in minutes. The gas giant simply ceased to exist, not destroyed but erased from reality. The Allied fleets fell back, unable to affect the approaching darkness. Inside Artemis, the mediators worked in perfect harmony. Their minds joined with the ancient vessel. They activated defense systems dormant for millennia. Energy shields extended around Earth and the inner planets. Abigail felt Artemis' knowledge flow through her mind. The void was not simply a natural phenomenon. It was conscious, a being from another dimension that fed on matter and energy. It had pursued the architects across the galaxy, eventually destroying their civilization. Now it had found Earth. The mediators guided Artemis into position between the void and Earth. The ancient vessel began to transform, its surface flowing like liquid metal, reshaping itself into a configuration not seen since the time of the architects. Prepare for full activation, Maya thought to her companions. The 7 women had trained for this moment. Their minds worked as one, guiding Artemis systems. Artemis weapons activated beams of energy, lanced out, striking the edge of the void. The darkness recoiled momentarily, then continued its advance. It's too powerful. Zoe thought, we need more. Across the solar system. The Allied fleets added their firepower, Concordance energy weapons, Ascendancy organic projectiles, Vanguard quantum disruptors, all focused on the void. All seemingly ineffective. The void reached the asteroid belt, consuming everything in its path. It moved with purpose, heading directly toward Artemis as if recognizing an ancient enemy. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Kimberly Reeves monitored the mediators' vital signs. They were fading. The neural load was too great. They can't maintain the connection much longer, she told Admiral Porter. We need to pull them out. The Admiral frowned. If they disconnect now, Earth dies, Kimberly finished, inside Artemis. The mediators sensed a new possibility. The ancient vessel contained technology beyond weapons. Wormhole generators capable of creating paths through space-time. We can't destroy the void, Olivia realized, but we can send it somewhere else. The others agreed, focusing their combined will on Artemis wormhole systems. The vessel began to generate a massive portal directly in the path of the void. Energy cascaded across space as reality itself bent to Artemis power. The void hesitated, as if sensing a trap. Then it surged forward, accelerating toward Earth. Now Grace thought Artemis fired a concentrated beam into the heart of the void. The darkness convulsed. Energy crackled across its surface. The wormhole expanded, pulling at the edges of the void. The void resisted, fighting against the portal. For a moment it seemed the darkness would overcome Artemis' power. The 7 women poured everything they had into the connection. Their life force, their consciousness, their very being. On Earth, their physical bodies convulsed. Blood trickled from their noses. Their ears, their eyes were losing them. Kimberly shouted. Her team rushed to stabilize the mediators inside Artemis. The women made their final push, creating a feedback loop between their minds and the vessel's systems. They became Artemis, and Artemis became them. The wormhole stabilized, expanding to engulf the void. The darkness fought, twisting reality around it. Stars blinked out of existence as space-time warped. Then with a silent flash, the void was pulled into the wormhole. The portal collapsed behind, it sealing the rift between dimensions. The mediators had done it. They had saved Earth. But at what cost? In the Rocky Mountain facility, 7 bodies lay still. Kimberly and her team worked desperately to revive them. Defibrillators were applied, drugs were injected. Nothing worked. The women who had saved humanity were gone. Admiral Porter stood silent, tears streaming down her face. They gave everything. Then one of the monitors beeped, a heartbeat, weak but present. Then another, and another. All 7 women showed signs of life, but brain scans showed minimal activity. Their bodies lived, but their minds, inside Artemis, something remarkable had happened. The mediator's consciousness remained within the vessel, their minds preserved within its systems. They were no longer fully human, but not quite something else. Abigail felt herself spread throughout Artemis systems. She could sense her companions nearby, their consciousness intermingled with hers. They existed in a state between human and machine, neither fully alive nor dead. The Allied fleets approached Artemis cautiously, unsure what had happened. The vessel hung in space, silent. Its energy signatures changed, transformed. Inside the virtual space of Artemis, the mediators gathered, trying to understand what had happened. We're alive, Abigail observed. But not in our bodies. We're part of Artemis now, Maya said. Our consciousness uploaded, saved. Can we go back? Zoe wondered. They explored their new existence, discovering they could access any part of Artemis, communicate with its systems. They found the backup protocols that had saved them when their physical bodies began to fail. We can return, Diana realized. But not all at once. The neural load would kill our bodies. We need to take turns one by one. They developed a system. Each would return to her body for a time while the others remained within Artemis. They would rotate, maintaining the connection between humanity and the ancient vessel. On Earth, the Allies celebrated their victory. The void had been banished. Earth saved. The alien factions that had been enemies now found common ground in the aftermath, in the Rocky Mountain facility. Abigail opened her eyes, the first to return. She looked up at Kimberly's worried face. Did it work? She asked, her voice weak. Kimberly nodded, tears in her eyes. You did it. The void is gone. We won. Abigail smiled. We're still connected to Artemis. All of us. We take turns coming back. Admiral Porter entered the room. Her normally stern face softened with relief when she saw Abigail awake. The alien representatives have been asking for you. They want to discuss the future. Abigail nodded. We have much to tell them. 1 week later, Abigail stood before the Allied Council. The Concordance Ascendancy and Vanguard representatives listened as she explained what they had discovered. Artemis was built as the ultimate safeguard against threats like the Void, she explained. It contains the knowledge of a dozen extinct civilizations. It can create wormholes to any point in the galaxy. And it chose humanity as its partners, the Concordance representative spoke. Its voice subdued. We were wrong to try to take it by force. We acknowledge humanity's connection to Artemis, the Ascendancy representative added. We offer our technology, our knowledge in exchange for protection against future threats. The Vanguard representative nodded. We recognize our ancestors' wisdom in creating Artemis with safeguards that would select compatible species. We accept humanity's role. Abigail looked at each alien representative in turn. We propose a new alliance, she said. With Artemis as its foundation, we will share knowledge, technology, defense. But Artemis remains under human guidance. It's too powerful for any one species to control alone. The aliens discussed among themselves, then agreed. The Artemis Alliance was born as the meeting concluded. Abigail felt Maya consciousness touch her mind from within Artemis. It's time to switch places. Abigail nodded. She had been in her body for a week. Now it was someone else's turn. She returned to the facility where the other mediators waited, some conscious, some in deep sleep, their minds within Artemis. She lay down on her designated bed, as Maya opened her eyes in the next. Bed over. See you soon, Maya said with a smile. Abigail closed her eyes, letting her consciousness flow back into Artemis. She felt herself expand once more, becoming part of something greater than herself, inside Artemis. She rejoined the others. They had work to do. The void had been banished but not destroyed. It would return eventually. And there were other threats in the galaxy. Artemis sensors had detected humanity had found its place in the stars. Not through conquest or subjugation, but through mediation, through balance. They had tamed the fury of an ancient weapon, and in doing so had changed the course of galactic history. The mediators would guide humanity through this new era. Their sacrifice, their transformation had made it possible. They were no longer simply human. They were something new. The bridge between humanity and the stars. 5 years passed since the battle with the void. The Artemis Alliance flourished, bringing together dozens of species under a banner of cooperation and shared defense. Earth became a central hub of galactic politics and trade. The mediators continued their rotation system, 1 in body 6 in Artemis. They had found a balance, allowing each woman time to live a somewhat normal life while maintaining their connection to the ancient vessel. Abigail walked through the Artemis Embassy in Geneva, a massive structure built to house representatives from 27 alien species. She nodded to a concordance diplomat, its body shimmering with internal light. Next, she passed an ascendancy technician who bowed respectfully. The Earth had changed dramatically. Technology shared by the Alliance had solved many human problems. Clean energy, abundant food, advanced medicine. Humanity was experiencing a golden age, but not everyone embraced the changes. A movement called Earth First had emerged. People who believed the aliens brought more danger than benefit, who feared humanity's rapid advancement. They wanted to sever the connection with Artemis, return to a simpler time. Abigail entered the conference room where Admiral Porter, now Secretary General of Earth, Defense, waited. Trouble, she asked. Seeing the older woman's expression, Porter nodded. Earth First protesters have surrounded the Rocky Mountain facility. They demand we disconnect from Artemis. Abigail frowned. They don't understand. Artemis is our shield, our connection to the galaxy. Without it, we'd be defenseless. Porter sighed. It's fear. Abigail, fear of change, fear of the unknown. Abigail understood the fear. She felt it herself. Sometimes the universe was vast, dangerous, filled with wonders and terrors, beyond human comprehension. Before finding Artemis, humanity had been isolated, protected by its very insignificance. Now Earth stood at the center of galactic politics, a target for any who opposed the Alliance, inside Artemis. Maya monitored galactic communications. Her consciousness spread through the vessel systems. She detected a disturbing pattern, energy signatures at the edge of charted space. Similar to the void, but smaller, contained. She reached out to the other mediators, sharing her discovery. Something is coming, Diana thought. Not the void, Grace added. But similar, like offspring. The mediators focused Artemis sensors on the anomaly. It was moving slowly but deliberately toward Alliance space. We should warn the Council. Zoe suggested. Olivia agreed that mediators who were currently in their bodies needed to know in Geneva. Abigail suddenly stiffened as Artemis transmitted directly to her neural implant. She turned to Porter. We have a situation. She said the others have detected something at the edge of charted space void. Spawn Porter's face hardened. How long do we have? Months, maybe a year. Abigail replied. But this is different from before. These entities are smaller, more numerous. We need to prepare. The Secretary General immediately called an emergency session of the Alliance Council. Representatives from all 27 species gathered to hear the news. The Concordance representative spoke first after Abigail presented the findings. The void reproduces. We always feared this. The Ascendancy representative added, our research suggests these spawn lack the power of the parent entity, but their numbers make them dangerous. The Vanguard representative turned to Abigail. Can Artemis defend against multiple targets? Abigail hesitated. That depends on us, the mediators. We need to expand our numbers. Train more humans with compatible neural patterns. The council agreed. Resources would be dedicated to finding and training new mediators. Defenses would be strengthened. Research into void entities would be prioritized. After the meeting, Abigail returned to the Rocky Mountain facility. She found protesters still gathered outside their signs demanding humans only and disconnect Artemis inside the facility. The other mediators waited. Lily was preparing to swap with Zoe, returning to Artemis while Zoe returned to her body. We've found 37 potential candidates. Lily reported, the neural compatibility tests are promising. We can begin training immediately. Abigail nodded. We'll need at least 20 functional mediators to handle multiple void spawn. The training began. Potential mediators were brought to the facility. Those who passed the rigorous neural compatibility tests began the process of connecting with Artemis, first in groups guided by experienced mediators, then individually for short periods. It was dangerous work. Several candidates suffered seizures. One fell into a coma. But slowly a new generation of mediators emerged. Beth, a former pilot, connected successfully on her third attempt. Her mind meshed well with Artemis systems. She gasped as she disconnected. I felt everything. The whole galaxy. Sam, a mathematician, found herself naturally attuned to Artemis navigational systems. She mapped wormhole trajectories with intuitive ease. Month by month, the mediator core grew. Earth-first protests intensified, but the Alliance stood firm. The threat approaching from deep space left no alternative. 9 months after the detection, 10 void spawn entered Alliance space. They moved faster than their parent, consuming everything in their path. 3 outer colonies were lost before defenses could be mobilized. The Alliance fleet engaged the entities over the colony world. Proxima B Artemis, now crewed by 23 mediators, led the defense. The ancient vessel had been upgraded with technologies from all Alliance species. It was the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. Abigail stood on Artemis Bridge, physically present for this battle. The neural load was distributed among all 23 mediators, allowing them to maintain physical form while connected to the vessel. Target the lead entity, she ordered. Artemis weapons fired. Streams of concentrated energy struck the void spawn. The entity recoiled, but continued advancing. All Alliance vessels concentrate fire, Diana called from the tactical station. The combined fleet focused its weapons. The void spawn convulsed, then split into 2 smaller entities. They divide when attacked. Maya observed. They adapt. Abigail frowned. We need a new strategy. The battle raged for hours. The Alliance fleet suffered heavy losses. The void spawn proved difficult to destroy. They divided when damaged. Absorbed energy weapons regenerated quickly. Then Lily made a discovery. Analyzing data from Artemis archives, the architects found a weakness, she reported. The void entities cannot maintain cohesion when exposed to specific quantum frequencies. The mediators adjusted Artemis weapons, recalibrating to generate the frequencies Lily had identified. The bow next attack struck true. The targeted void spawn destabilized, unable to maintain its form. It collapsed in on itself, disappearing in a flash of released energy. It worked, Abigail shouted. Transmit the frequency to all Alliance vessels. The tide of battle turned. The Alliance fleet adjusted their weapons, following Artemis' lead one by one. The void spawn were destabilized and destroyed. The victory was celebrated throughout Alliance space. Earth. First protests diminished as people recognized the threat. Artemis had defended them from the Mediator program, received increased funding. New facilities were built to train compatible humans. 1 year later, Abigail stood in the new Mediator Academy. built near the original Rocky Mountain facility, 117 trainees had gathered to hear her speak a new generation that would carry humanity's connection to Artemis forward. She looked out at their faces, young, eager, committed. These were not soldiers, but diplomats, scientists, explorers. They would use Artemis not just as a weapon but as a tool of discovery and growth. As she spoke, Abigail felt the presence of the other original mediators in her mind. Connected through Artemis, they shared this moment. "We stand at a crossroads," she told. "The trainees' humanity has been given a great responsibility. We are the bridge between worlds, between species, between ways of thinking. Artemis chose us not because we are perfect, but because we are balanced." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The universe is full of wonders and dangers. We have seen both. We have faced the darkness and survived, but our journey is just beginning. With Artemis as our guide, we will explore the farthest reaches of space. We will learn the secrets of ancient civilizations. We will build something new, something lasting." Behind her, a holographic display showed the galaxy with Earth at its center, not as a symbol of dominance but of connection. Lines represented trade routes, diplomatic ties, cultural exchanges, spreading outward like a web. "This is our legacy," she continued. "A galaxy united not through conquest but through cooperation, not through fear but through understanding. Artemis awoke from its long sleep and found in humanity a partner. Together we have tamed, its fury directing its power toward creation rather than destruction." The trainees applauded, their faces shining with purpose and hope. Later, Abigail stood on a mountaintop looking up at the night sky. She could see Artemis orbiting overhead, a bright star moving among the fixed points of light. She felt the connection to the ancient vessel, to her fellow mediators, to the galaxy itself. Maya joined her on the mountain, their rotation schedules allowing them a rare moment together in physical form. "Did you ever imagine this?" Maya asked, gesturing at the sky, at the world that had changed so dramatically. "Never," Abigail replied, "but I wouldn't change it. We found our place, above them." Artemis continued its silent watch. The ancient weapon had found worthy partners in humanity. Together they had created something unprecedented, a balance between power and restraint, between advancement and wisdom. The stars beckoned, promising new discoveries, new challenges. But for now, in this moment, Earth was at peace. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not as conquerors, not as victims, but as mediators, as the species that could stand